Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for choosing Fox 4 Dallas Local News. Dallas Cowboys recently lost against the Green Bay Packers 28-31. Devastating loss. But let's not talk about us. Let's talk about the worst team in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are currently in a winning season, but they lost against the Giants. Oh, excuse me. Can we roll the clip we have on screen here? Hello everyone, we are here to report to you that there are currently attacks happening all over the globe. People are panicking and people are wondering, is this the result of another terrorist attack? No, this is the result of the IKEA invasion. IKEA products are starting to turn to life and invading people's houses, telling them to come to Sweden. Now the question everyone is asking, is Sweden so bad? The answer is no, Sweden is a fairly popular tourist destination for many reasons, whether that be visiting lakes or forests or traveling around the world. Sweden is great for it. When you go to Sweden, you are almost guaranteed to see lakes, considering Sweden has approximately 100,000 lakes to see and explore. Sweden is also known for its obscure amount of forest area. Coming with that also comes its many hiking trails to the public. Sweden is huge. It has 204,035 square miles with an average of 64 people per square mile, an arithmetic density of 25.5 people per square kilometer, and a psychological density of 25.57 per square kilometer. With a crude death rate of 9.6 and a crude birth rate of 11.247 per 1,000 kids, in 2022, Sweden had a population of 10,549,034. After the disease effusion from China that started the COVID pandemic, Sweden had a population explosion, considering the population grew 39% in the past 16 years thanks to the migration of international immigrants and interregional immigrants into Sweden. Well, that sounds like a lot. It's only 0.133% of the world's population was. Which reminds me of the neo-Malthusian theory, because he believed the world population should be controlled, which is why he made the Malthusian theory, which states that the world population will drive the planet Earth to its doom. The average person in Sweden has a life expectancy of 82.4 years. Sweden infant mortality rate is 1.8 death rate to 1,000, which has a 3.5 negative growth, which is lower than the US with a 5.5 to 1,000 with a 1.2 decline, and a mortality rate of 11.8. The total fertility rate of Sweden is 1.7, which below the birth replacement is 2.1. The average age median is 40.9. You can clearly see all this in the population pyramid. Sweden, you can also see by the population period that Sweden does not have a big gender imbalance. It has very equal ratios in boy to girl count. It also shows that Sweden does not have a negative growth rate because the top right pyramid is not very top heavy. Sweden with this also has a lot of natural resources, being filled with iron ore. Sweden accounts for 90% of all today's iron ore, but that's not it. Sweden is also filled with 0.6 tons of copper. Sweden is the second biggest producer of gold, only behind Finland, producing 125.7 tons of gold. Sweden also has lead, timber, uranium, zinc, and silver. Sweden is not only rich in natural resources, but also in agricultural goods being produced. Sweden as a whole has significant more value in food, with cereal, with meats. In 2000, Sweden produced 1,642,100 tons of barley, 1,151,100 tons of oats, and 2,348,000 of wheat, and 9 million tons of potatoes, and 180,000 of rye made using transhumans. That's not all Sweden has to offer agriculturally, though. Sweden is surrounded by oceans, so in 2018, Sweden produced 0.2 million tons of fish with a value of 182.4 million used. 27% of this money come from agriculture goods, and the other 73% came from fisheries around Sweden, which shows place utility. Now let's talk CO2 emissions. With how today's world is set, global warming is starting to become a serious problem. Some countries are contributing to the decrease of CO2, but some are still using the exact same amount and killing the earth. One thing is for sure, Sweden is doing its part. Last year had 40.1 million tons of carbon dioxide emitted into the atmosphere. That is a reduction 7% from what they had last year. Ever since 1979, CO2 emissions have fallen steadily in Sweden after the peak they had in 1979 and 1990, have lowered their carbon emissions about 40%. Enough about agriculture and natural resources. Let's talk about politics. Sweden's average GDP per capita is $60,238 with a growth of 50.2% since 2020. In 2020, Sweden also was ranked 5th in the global corruption index, making the 4th less corrupt country in the world. This is probably because of the high amount of public administration. This might sound crazy, but in Sweden, the government actually really cares about the people. Sweden is a democratic country with parliamentary form of government, meaning that all power comes from the people. All of these things make Sweden a great place to live with, but with so many people moving there after the IKEA apocalypse, who knows how much the number will change with the demographic momentum, and if Sweden has always been this good of a country. A lot of the times when people have Air Forces Jordans, they're always uncomfortable. Let me show you an example. Hey, are those shoes comfortable?
No, I really wish I had some price though.
Exactly, and if you come over here, There's always people wearing Crocs, no matter where you are. Perfect example. Abel, do you like those shoes?
Yeah, I love them.
They're amazing. They're comfortable. They're swaggy. Hey, whenever you finish a soccer game, do you not want to put a pair of Crocs on? I do actually. Exactly. That's why you should call 1-800-CROCS. Not today.
Even if we were to get set back into the Neolithic period, Sweden wouldn't be such a bad place to live in. Back 2,000 years ago, Sweden had a very ecumen and had zero population growth until later on. There might have been an incline, but mainly a decline. The reason being is the cold, harsh weather and the wildlife, reasons for population decline. As time went on, Sami, by intercontinental migration, came and started living there, having a lot of population density, which eventually led to transmigration. Soon after, the Sami came from Asia and Europe. They adapted and eventually lost connection to their previous culture.
Australia for Britain.
Decay.
European settlers began to arrive, and the Aborigine population suffered
Some
disastrously.
pretty good resources and were blessed by their physical environment. For example, it had copper, gold, iron ore, lead, zinc, and timber liver. Sweden has always had an abundant amount of iron. They used iron to make tools, weapons, and crafts. Use these tools to gather wood and make housing or shelter. The only intervening obstacle would be food, but they would use these tools and weapons for hunting, gathering, and fishing. This cartogram helps you see what the natural agriculture there was in the world during the Neolithic period. Since Sweden is surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean, they had a very good supply of fish and seafood. Agriculture has an abundance of wheat, millet, and barley. In Sweden, their diet consisted of cereal and pig, unknown if domesticated or wild boar. Oxen were native to Sweden and even used as draw animals, and can be eaten if needed. This means no matter what they were, always plenty of food. The bare minimum amount of calories someone has to eat to stay alive is a quota of 1,200 calories for both men and women. A bowl of wheat has 407 calories, 8 grams of fat, 22.8 grams of carbs, 3.9 grams of fiber, and 3.9 grams of protein. They could also eat 1 or 2 slices of pig or boar. If they eat 1 slice, it's 297 calories. If they eat 2, it's 600 calories. They would be able to live off of making fires, boats, and tools. They would also never have to worry about having water, considering that there are about 100,000 lakes all over Sweden. Since Sweden has good pollination percentages, they had flourishing fields and meadows as well as forests. In studies done by the vegetation in a city in Sweden, there are mown hay meadows on dry ground from at least 200 BC. This indicates that they had rich, fresh meadows and that they most likely mowed them in early summer and grazed during late summer and autumn, hence proving that they had a strong sense of agriculture early on. The only con about living in Sweden back then would be the winter, but there would be many ways to survive. There is a lot of timbers, hence, so it would be easy to start and create a fire. Not only that, but the amount of food that they had, they would not starve. They would also be able to make coats with oxen skin or fur. Even though the life expectancy wasn't high in 1983 BC, we would be able to survive and thrive knowing we have more advantages now.
Yeah.
So many good sets. I wonder which one would be the best to choose from.
I think you get some funny.
Why?
They sizzle in your mouth. They're hot, flavorful, and yummy. Good morning, everyone. Sweden in the future sounds amazing. With all their natural materials like copper, gold, iron ore, lead, zinc, and timber, and especially hydropower, Sweden will become a powerful nation. Hydropower already accounts for 45% of Sweden's electricity. Or imagine how it could be in 100 years. It will be like a new industrial revolution. To make new energy sources following the success of hydropower, it is very likely that the amount of CO2 being emitted will change dramatically. Sweden currently has a CO2 emission 40.1 million tons of carbon dioxide and has been in a steady decline ever since 1990. More people contributing to the CO2 emission would be the amount of electric cars, considering that places like California are banning the usage of gasoline-based cars. To help continue the movement of electric cars. Also, we did a census, and the demographic shows the amount of refugees will make our agriculture density expand. Because the more people, the more farms, and they will probably have to continue growing by the year of 2050. There is the projected to be 10 billion people, and then by the end of the century, the UN expected to 10.4 billion people to be on Earth. There will be many causes of population increases. For example, the interfering opportunity from net migration coming from different places. After an IKEA invasion, this will likely to rise because of the forced migration. Also, the rise of voluntary migration being 3.807 in Sweden, the dependency ratio would increase due to the amount of people of all ages coming in all at once. So there will be a big change in the population pyramid. This will also lead to acclimation and assimilation. People will more than likely learn speak Swedish and learn Swedish culture. This will also affect the demography of how many people will move in. There will be many pull factors that attract more people to Sweden is the resources that Sweden naturally has and make animosity and make all their immigrants or immigrant citizens also remittance so they can send money back to their home country. The push factor to leave your country will be surviving the IKEA invasion. That is the only reasonable choice. There will be probably be an explosion of population in both urban and rural areas of Sweden. Because of this, we might experience a limit on the carrying capacity, which can unbalance the sex ratio, and we will have to get the whole country assimilated and on a cycle movement to make sure that everyone is on track and most people will feel comfortable. Most population projections predict that there will be about 13.2 million people in Sweden, and by 2122, about 14 million is projected. The population pyramid is a prediction of what Sweden will look like in the year 2100. There's a huge difference on the pyramid, especially the older you get. In the first population pyramid, we showed as it seemed if there was almost no young people and no elderly. In 2022, the average age was 40.82, and I do not think this has changed much. But one thing I did notice is about how the shape of the pyramid is. It's very straight, almost like a column. This shows that there will be a sustainability in the sex ratio. By there not being much change, I think that in the next 100 years, there will probably be a medical revolution which will be developed to help us live longer. And I think that the birth rate of Sweden will grow also will hopefully help prevent any more epidemics or pandemics. Sweden currently has a Democrat parliamentary form of government, which means all public power proceeds from the people, and I do not think this will change. There's a chance that it may go from Democratic to Republican, constantly like a cycle movement, but that is very normal, and all depends on the elections. Currently, Sweden is not a member of NATO, but I think in the future this will change, especially after effects the Russian-Ukraine war will have in Europe. I think countries that are not protected by NATO will soon join to prevent any harm happening to their country.